Hi, I'm Dr. Jordan Shapiro. I'm a gastroenterologist in Houston, Texas, with an area of expertise in irritable bowel syndrome. And I'm joined today by a very special guest, Lisa, who's going to introduce herself before we have a question and answer session.
Thank you, Dr. Shapiro. My name's Lisa Belfiore, and I am an IBS-D patient in Boston, Massachusetts.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
How did you find out that you had irritable bowel syndrome, and what was your journey to get diagnosed?
So my journey started when I was about 19 years old, back in 1999. It just started one day. The urgency, the diarrhea, I remember the day when it happened. I was out with friends, needed to use the restroom, and it never got better. So it just proceeded for a few years. When I was 27, I was diagnosed with IBS-D through a colonoscopy. At the time, there was no real guidance. I just got well, it's only IBS-D. And that was about it. There was no recommendations for medication. There was no recommendation for follow-up. A few years later, I went for an unrelated allergy issue, and the allergist suggested that it might be a gluten intolerance. Try giving up gluten, see what happens. That actually worked really well for me. I did go through the blood work for celiac, but because I'd already given up gluten, we don't think we got an accurate um, result for that. So I've just really been living as if I've had celiac for the last 12 years. I've been gluten-free.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So, I'm curious to hear a little bit about what happened with your symptoms, some of the interactions with healthcare providers you may have had in the 8 years between the onset at 19 years old and getting diagnosed at 27.
Yeah, I think the most guidance was just use over-the-counter anti-diarrheal medications. That actually worked for a really long time. Until about 5 or 6 years ago, I actually developed an allergy to the over-the-counter stuff. So that's when I just started going on my own at that point. It gets frustrating, it gets tiring. You reach out and there's just so many different places that you can go, and you get a little information here, a little information there, but trying to find a kind of an answer for something that is so spectrum, it's very difficult to find kind of that personalized treatment and recommendations that work for you.
Yeah, experience of going it alone, and that for many patients feeling like that's the best option to finding a solution is really common and really unfortunate. And with your experience with the dietary exclusions, did you get much coaching on that? Did you get much guidance, or was that something that was just suggested and again you had to figure out on your own?
Yeah, that I actually had to kind of figure out on my own. I had gone in when I had a bad flare up back in 2016 that lasted about 3 or 4 months. We had talked about with my primary care about going on one of the prescription medications available for IBS-D, but it wouldn't work because I don't have a gallbladder. So pancreatitis was going to be inevitable with that medication. So I started to look into managing it through nutrition, and I did find the FODMAP diet. And I started to do the elimination and reintroduction on my own. I found a lot of my triggers. I did find out that I also have sensitivity to plant-based proteins. So I've actually eliminated those as well. So the nutrition's been difficult because of that, because grains are important, because plant-based proteins are good for you. There's a lot of things that are considered good for me that just aren't gut healthy or gut friendly for me.